on the farm. 1985 to 95, some of you may be familiar, there was the Gitanagri press, and there was also a yogi bar factory where they were making snack bars. So for the older devotees, some of you will remember those vibrant times at Gitanagri. 1995 to 2005 was when the new temple was being constructed, and the actual new temple was opened in the year 2000. Then Parijata and I arrived in the farm 2008, 2010 to 12. We also ran a CSA where we were delivering vegetables to, that time we had the center in Edison. So every week we'd deliver a box of vegetables. So we want to restart the similar program. The reason we had stopped the program back then in 2012, 2013 was when we started the milk delivery program. So the new cows arrived in Gitanagri on 2013, and it was a bit much. There was only a handful of us living on the farm at that time. So it was a new program for us, learning to take care of so many cows. So we spent the last many years, since 2013, implementing systems for the dairy operation. So, we find that now we've got the dairy operation with many, many systems in place so that we have capacity now to start farming again and growing vegetables. We always had a small farm for the deities, for Sri Sri Radha Damodar, but in terms of growing for the devotees as well, we didn't have so much manpower because we are still implementing systems. So, so much of upgrades for those of you that have visited the farm, so much of upgrades have been there. And, we have many nice programs. We have alternate breaks. Parijata will share a little bit more about them. We also have our own apiary now where we're keeping bees, and we have some honey available, raw honey. If some devotees want some, we can get some later on after the program. So 1956, some of you may be familiar. In 1956, Prabhupada had written a document. It's an 18-page document, which is now more popularly known as the conception of Gitanagri. So this concept of, having a place or a farm called Gitanagri, Prabhupada had conceived of in 1956, before he even came to the West. So he had this document and, this ideal village life of a place called Gitanagri. Gitanagri meaning the place where the Bhagavad Gita is sung. So Prabhupada had already conceived of this before he came to the West, 1965. Then, in this prophecy, there's some excerpts of, some of the things that Prabhupada had proclaimed in this prophecy. Gitanagri will therefore be the main preaching center of the supreme authority of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. It shall be proclaimed that from that place, that Sri Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, is the absolute enjoyer of all benefits derived from all kinds of works, sacrifices, cultivation of knowledge, that he is the absolute proprietor of all the material and spiritual world, that he is unalloyed friend and philosopher of all living entities, namely the gods or the rulers. So there's more. It's actually available on our website. You can read the entire document that Prabhupada wrote, the conception of Gitanagri, and we're making some humble attempt to follow, this document very, very closely and, develop this Gitanagri that Prabhupada had a vision for. Some more excerpts. In 1976, this is when Prabhupada came to visit Gitanagri. So some pictures of him on the farm. This is Srila Prabhupada. I think we skipped one there. This is Srila Prabhupada walking down the main aisle in the barn where we milk the cows. So with those of you that have been on the farm into the milking barn where we milk the cows, this is the main aisle Prabhupada's walking down. This is the shed besides the main milking barn. And this is Srila Prabhupada in the actual milk house where we store the milk. So once the cows are milked, it goes into that holding tank. So this is where Srila Prabhupada is opening the tank and looking at all the milk inside the tank. So this is something Prabhupada said August 3rd, 1976 in New Mayapur. Anything grown in the garden, that is 100 times valuable than it is purchased from the market. So 1978, Sri Sri Radha Damodar had arrived. 1980, Lalita Vishaka had arrived. 2000, the new temple room had been opened. And then I'll hand over to Parijataya. She can continue with the rest of the presentation, describing some of our products that we offer on the farm. Thank you.
Hi Krishna, it's always very enlivening to be in central New Jersey with the devotee community here. So thank you for inspiring us in this way. It's always an austerity to come to the city once you live on the farm. But when we come to a community like this, it's not an austerity. It's just beautiful. It's coming back into Vrindavan. It's very beautiful. Thank you. So like Dhruva was mentioning, the progress of Gitanagari over time has been through different waves. And where we are now at is focusing a lot on Srila Prabhupada's desires through the conception of Gitanagari, the prophecy, and trying to give impetus to the next chapter of, I think, Iskcon in general. And that is sustainable living. And you would hear that in your workplace. You will probably have practices in your workplace already. The children learn that at school. But Srila Prabhupada spoke about this decades ago, and it's in our scriptures on how exactly to live such a life. So at Gitanagari, the experiences right now are based on what can we produce. The cities are for preaching, and the farms are for productivity. So in order to stay vibrant and viable, the farms have to be productive. 3 hours from here, and those of you who have come, you will see how rural the location of the farm is. And there isn't, a traffic coming through. We're surrounded by Amish and Mennonite and a very strong Christian belief ideology in the area. One news reporter said to us, we're in deep Trump country. So a lot of, that kind of conservatism around us. And then there's this beautiful 350 acres that Prabhupada established in time. The farm was purchased by the New York Temple, the Sankirtan devotees at the time. They had named the farm New Varshana, and when Srila Prabhupada visited in 76, he renamed the farm Gitanagari, the place where the Bhagavad Gita is lived, or the residents live according to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And so we're at this point where we are seeing how relevant farm communities are. So they're not isolated communities anymore. There needs to be a very strong connection between those of us living in the cities and those of us living in the farms. And so we'll talk about a little bit on how that connection can be strengthened. We believe we have a very strong connection with this community for many years now, primarily through the visits that you all make to the farm, through events, and then as a regular productive hub for you for your dairy. And so being the only certified slaughter-free dairy in North America, we're very honored to provide you those gifts from the cows, and you've been very supportive with that mission because you have the understanding and you understand the values behind that. And so we moved from 4 cows to 28, and in time we have about 6, I can't see those numbers, honey, can you just, 600?
600 half gallons weekly.
Sorry, we're sending out 600 half gallons weekly from the farm based on your support and the support of the communities also in Washington, D.C. and New Jersey. So the sanctuary element is, for those of you who are not familiar, once the cows provide milk, they retire into the sanctuary and they live out their full life naturally. The oxen, the bull calves that are born, are taken care of and they're trained to voice commands. Here's a pair taking a group of guests and devotees around the farm. And to take care of these cows is very cost-effective for a regular budget. So to take care of non-productive cows, and if you'd ever like to join the program of Adopt a Cow, then it would be $2 a day. In order to give people a reason to come to the farm, we have to have great guest facilities. Those of you who've walked the journey with us at Gitanagri will remember the earlier days of very dharmashalas type facilities, right? It was like, kind of almost sleeping outdoors. But now we're happy to share that we have very comfortable facilities, and we also can host up to 120 guests. We have shared facilities as well as what we call our premium suites, 6 luxury suites, and so we look forward to hosting you in those. We do about 20 retreats in a year. The model has shifted a little bit in that the scale is not as huge, but they remain very vibrant, very nourishing for the persons that come, and for those of us volunteers who serve on the farm, it's a great way to spend quality time with the retreatants. Alternative breaks, our outreach to students. You think, what can Gitanagri do in the middle of nowhere? But somehow we found a way to attract students to come to the farm. They come on the principles of animal welfare, environmental justice, because we are a working model of that. And that is because Srila Prabhupada gave that in his teachings. And the devotees, with the help of a great team, there's Agare Krishna here and Vadim and others back at the farm, helped us frame all of what Prabhupada has taught us in a way that is very relevant to young adults. And so these are some testimonies from some of the students that have come on alternative breaks. Here's one young lady from Rutgers. She didn't know what to expect. She thought she'd just come to a regular community, and here she is having a great time, bedding the cows and hugging the cows and preparing prasadam for herself, her friends, and the community, honoring prasadam together. So very enlivening. And so we're at a stage where the dairy is stabilized, and we're living on 350 acres of land, 200 acres of woodland, and 150 acres of tillable land. And it's very difficult to live on land and not see rows, productive, beautiful crops of vegetables. It's very difficult. I actually feel embarrassed if you look at the land and think, where are the vegetables? It's like driving through Pennsylvania and some parts of New Jersey, and you see beautiful farms and fields, but they're growing corn and soybean. They're growing feed, not food, the second-hand eating dilemma that we have in this country. And so Srila Prabhupada's vision was for farm communities to supply city temples with dairy, produce, and flowers. And so we got the dairy down, and I hope many of you are pleased with that. Now we need to work on the produce and the flowers. And so we, like Dhruva mentioned, we ran the CSA before. Anyone remembers what a community-supported agriculture is? Yes, some of us do. So it means that you get to know your farmer. In this country, food is trucked in or imported from other parts of the world or trucked in from the West Coast where the climate is really wonderful. And so you're not sure eventually what you're getting and how things stay that fresh that long unless they're genetically modified through the seed and their growing process, unless they're conventionally grown with certain processes that allow them to have an increased shelf life. When we grow locally and organically through organic processes, then we're eating we are offering to our deities a different quality of produce. And then we're honoring that Mahaprasadam, that prasad, that is very nourishing. Like Srila Prabhupada said, whatever a devotee grows is very tasty, very palatable, very nourishing. There is no comparison. And it is 100 times better than what we would get in the market. So in times of it was very different. We didn't have to question where our food came from, right? We trusted. I mean, I grew up in a climate that we don't have a winter. There was always fresh vegetables and fruit. And I didn't go and ask the vendor or the seller, is that organic? I never had to ask that question because I knew it was grown. I knew who he was, and I knew he grew in the local area. These days, one has to question. So if we're living in this country, then we have to question the source of our food. And Dhruva will talk a little bit more on that. And so in 2010, we had 25 members in our community-supported agriculture, a system where you get to know us and we make a commitment to you to grow nourishing vegetables for your good health, for your offering to your deities, and for your family's well-being. So what happens is that this particular system, the underlying ideology is to share the harvest. In times of bounty, everyone gets more. In times of scarcity, you don't really get less, but you will, we might have to share those times. However, what we're doing differently this time is running what we call a multi-farm CSA. So to run a community-supported agriculture for a farmer is the most stressful thing, because you've got to plan, like according to science, when you will grow what crops based on when they need to be seeded, in what conditions they grow in, how long do they take to harvest. And then you'd have to plan that so that every week you can make a commitment to 100 families to get however many pounds of produce that you've committed to giving them. And so it takes a lot of planning, and so it's a lot of pressure. I remember the last CSA we did, we went from 25 members, then to 45 members, and then to 115. And I said to Dhruva, we're never doing this again. Never, it's too stressful. It's very rewarding, but it's super stressful. Because if you have one crop failure, what are you going to do? It's not like a manufactured product. You got to tweak your production facility or, try to kind of, manage something in the system to get the same product. No, you're dealing with nature, with living resources, organisms, microorganisms in the soil. You're dealing with the weather, the elements, and of course the Krishna factor. And so crop failures, you got, deal with it. Maybe something did not even, pesticides. I don't know if you have that in your gardens, but we have a surplus of groundhogs on the farm. And I asked the local farmers, what do you do with groundhogs? And he said something like a .22 or whatever that is. I didn't even know, in my naivety, I didn't know. And I realized it was a gun. They shoot the groundhogs. So, that is against our value system in terms of farming. So when we talk about organic growing, we're not talking about a beautiful farm with rolling green hills where there's no violence. It's not like that, even if we're dealing with produce. And so a different presentation is made and a different reality exists. And so this year, to take the pressure off the farmer, that's us, so that we can deliver, and to give you more variety. I remember the key feedback points from all of you from the last CSA, which was so many years ago, but they're fresh in my mind. Like, we don't know what to do with some of the things you're sending. You're sending too much, or you're sending things that we're not familiar with, And so this year, we want to do a multi-farm CSA. In the last few years, we've formed relationships with communities with other farmers in our community, and we are able to provide you staples like potatoes and tomatoes and broccoli and cauliflower and whatever else you'd like to eat on a frequent basis that your families honor on a frequent basis and that you make offerings with, so that we don't have this dilemma of us having to produce everything and not being able to meet your needs. And so this multi-farm CSA is why we think we could be able to meet your needs in this way. Can you think of anything else that would meet your needs? Our invitation to you is every week you're going to the store and you're getting vegetables for your family. Prabhupada's vision is that this rural communities, the devotee communities, supply these to the temples, to the deities, the installed deities, and to the communities and the servants of those deities. So our invitation to you is you're going to the store every week. You're purchasing vegetables. Would you consider getting your vegetables from Gita Nagari, grown by devotees, or the local community of farmers, and that can be delivered to you every week in season? And that's the dilemma of living in a country where we have a very cold winter. Nothing really grows outdoors. And so our season will run from May 31st to October 25th, I think it is. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but can you think of any other needs that you have in terms of produce and your vegetable daily needs? Green chilies, definitely, that we can do. Yes, we piloted that. That's good, that grows nicely. Tomatoes, we definitely do, we grew, what was that? Corn, yeah, that is good. Yes, we can, corn grows. And we tried, for those of you who cook these vegetables, okra and karela, buttermelon, and loki, and was prolific. Is Vadim here? Vadim didn't know what to do. He's here, he's back out there. Vadim is an agro-engineer, and he moved to the farm. And that's another reason why we're able to relaunch a multi-farm CSA. is because he would give it that focus. He's from Belarus. He has his master's in horticulture, and he did the gardening in this last season and did very well. I think there were about maybe 2,000 pounds of vegetables that came into the kitchen from whatever he grew. And so with that confidence and a revised strategy, we're able to come to you with this offering. Now, coming back to growing process, even if you go to your store right now and you have the facility to shop at Whole Foods or Wegmans, and you go to the organic section and you want something organic, does anyone know the 3 main ingredients in growing organic food as a soil enrichment? Anyone? Pardon? Earthworms, fertilizer. Oh, you're giving me all the mode of goodness answers. I was looking, but that's correct. Earthworms, fertilizer. Pardon? Cow dung. Oh, yes, manure, right? Yes. Now, because in organic growing, in the larger farms outside of devotee farms, they do not obviously spray anything. They have to have a very rich soil, and they have to rotate their crops, and there are certain practices. But the 3 main ingredients used to grow organic vegetables is fish emulsion. We had an organic inspection audit last Thursday, which we passed, thankfully, but that was actually quite a breeze because the value system is there. So we audited once a year. And the lady said to me, or said to Dhruva actually, did you use fish emulsion this year? And we said, fish emulsion? Never. No, not without a doubt. Never. And then she says, did you use any bone meal or blood meal? And we said, no, that is against our value system to do that. You will not, there's no question about it. And so those are the 3 ingredients in every organic farm, because that causes the soils to be very nourished and enriched and gives you all these beautiful green and colorful vegetables you see in the store. Fish emulsion, bone meal, and blood meal. And so these are considerations, and they're not meant to, just kind of scare you off a little bit. It's meant for you to be informed so you can make ethical choices and you know what you're getting. You may make a choice to continue, you may make a choice not to. But if I'm going to share this with you, then I need to offer alternatives. Otherwise, I'm just an armchair philosopher about it. And so we're saying if those are the 3 ingredients, then the alternative is to come to devotee communities, come to devotee farms, and be able to source your produce from devotee community farms. So the other dynamic is that there are a lot of FDA recalls, and Dhruva has a lot to say about that. We'll just quickly go there, and then I can talk about the actual program.
Where is that? Okay. So how many of you are familiar about FDA recalls? So on the FDA website, they track on a daily basis products that they've inspected and that need to be recalled from the public, from the consumer. How many of you are familiar? I must have presented it before. Anyway, this is one way. We, of course, have now a data scientist with us, Agadi Krishna Prabhu. So the method we chose to show the most recalled products on the recall list, if you study that from 2017 to 2019, this is called the word cloud method of representing data. So as you can see, the largest item that's shown there is cheese, which was the most recalled product during those years. And so the different sizes of the other products show, the font size shows the next most recalled product. So we can see some features there, dark chocolate products being recalled more, bread flour, nuts, tahini, ice cream. So there's so many items that are being recalled. So if you want a detailed analysis, go to the FDA website and you'll be able to see those products. This slide, if you can see a little bit, are the reasons for the recall. And so as you can see, number 1 seems to be undeclared milk. So when you look at the labels, you're looking for the ingredients. So us as devotees, we don't consume so many products. We're always checking the labels to see, are there products in there that we cannot eat? But as you can see, reasons for recall, So Listeria, E. coli, there's undeclared eggs for some of the reasons that are being recalled. How many of you are aware of what's the current major recall in the country right now? Lettuce, romaine lettuce. So how many of you use romaine lettuce? So beware, because right now there's a massive recall. It's been going over the past few months. They finally managed to track down the location for this particular romaine lettuce, where it came from. It was in California somewhere, some place, I can't remember the exact name now, but it came from California. So we have to be careful. This is Pennsylvania's notification to the public in Pennsylvania. Please do not eat, serve, or sell any romaine lettuce. So a very bold statement. I quickly went through, the different states. They, of course, have their own websites, similar to CDC, which is the federal national website. But, each state has its own Department of Health. And if you go to New Jersey Department of Health, they don't have such a bold statement. They have some statement that, romaine lettuce is being recalled. But it seems like all of them, try to be a little shadowy when it comes to, getting right down to the point. Please don't eat, don't serve, and, be very wary. So you can check the label and see if it's not coming from California, probably it is safe. But if you can't ascertain where it's coming from, then be very, very careful. You should discard it because, it can cause serious illnesses. So here's romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce has been a hot item over the last 2-3 years. 2017, there was 25 cases reported of people getting sick in 15 states. There was 1 death, 9 hospitalizations. And then in 2018, in June, there was another recall for romaine lettuce. This time there was 210 people involved, 36 states. And the 2018 recall for romaine lettuce was pretty severe. It resulted in 5 deaths. People who had consumed it had, of course, come into contact with the bacteria called E. coli. I think it's got a number, 157. And hospitalizations as a result of eating that romaine lettuce in 2018 was 96. January 2019, again, romaine lettuce featured. I think this time it was from, what's the state now? Las Vegas. Sorry, somewhere in that area. Arizona, yes, Arizona. So 2019 January recall was from Arizona, 62 reported cases, 16 states. The product was distributed to, 25 hospitalizations. Fortunately, there was no deaths. And now November 2019, there's 40 cases reported. This romaine lettuce from California had gone to 16 states. There's currently 28 hospitalizations. And fortunately, there's no deaths been reported to date. So as you can see, devotees need to be very wary about where their food is coming from. So, of course, where are we purchasing our food? Are we purchasing a lot from the Indian store, the health food store? How many of you purchase from Whole Foods? So, some of our devotees are purchasing from Whole Foods. One would think that, we're getting really good food in Whole Foods because of the price, just by virtue of the price. But here's, if you look at that FDA recall list, which brands are being recalled the most? As you can see, the boldest letters or largest font size is Whole Foods. So a lot of products are being recalled from Whole Foods itself. Wegmans, another Whole Foods type store. Major, then there's Aldi's. There's a few, big names, brand names, Organics, Inspired Organics, White's Food Stores. So, these are some of the, and the companies that these are associated with. So, of course, sometimes the company doesn't match the brand. But in terms of the companies, yes, again, Whole Foods featuring very, very large font. That means, their products are being more recalled. Aldi's, First Source, Weiss. Anybody can recognize New Jersey stores? General Mills, they're one of the biggest suppliers of flour in the country. Series, yep. So So just be wary, where our food is coming from. And if, you have some doubt, please consult with this website. It'll tell you exactly on a daily basis what products are being recalled. Check out the New Jersey Department of Health. They feature, nicely where things are coming from.
So, okay. So for purposes of time, Drew was reminding me of time. So I think this is all information to consider. What we'd like to share with you is the Gitanagri program for 2020, the multi-farm CSA. We did a little bit of market research for this region and then tried to understand how much a community-supported agriculture share would cost you. Per week, it varies from $27 going up to $57 from these various farms. And so if you can buy local, that's great. You know your farmer, that's great. You even volunteer at the farm, that's wonderful. You get to know the farmer and all his, especially inputs into the soil. These farms very likely would use bone meal, fish emulsion, blood meal, etc. And so what we would like to offer is a share at $32.50 per week. And this is how it would work on the next slide. Honey, you have to switch on that. Before we go there, also just looking at the retail price of vegetables, what carrots, for example, would sell at in the store, what lettuce, what zucchini would sell at. And if we look at what Gitanagri is offering, what we would like to offer is 15 to 20 pounds of produce per week, 7 to 10 and even more varieties of primarily vegetables with some fruit per week. It comes to about $30 per week, $1.50 to $2 per pound. The season lasts from May 31st to October 25th, so for 22 weeks. And the total for the weekly shares for the entire season would be $660, and we would deliver. That was often the concern on how do you get these shares. For these particular vegetable boxes, we don't want to impose on you. You need cooler space. Krishnamananda Prabhu will get on our case, like where are we going to put the vegetables and how are we going to store this, how are we going to do that. So we give him a lot of headache, and he tolerates a lot from us. So I'm always very grateful. But we want to be able to bring the boxes of produce in time for your program when you come on Sunday. So we will harvest fresh on Friday and Saturday, pack the shares, and then bring them and deliver them to you here. So when you come to the program, you take your box of vegetables home. And so then the delivery for the season is $55, which is $250 a week. So the total would be $715, which comes to $32.50 per week on the screen. And these are the vegetables we're able to grow. Karela, okra, tomato, cucumber, different types of peppers, different types of root vegetables, eggplant, all the brassicas like broccoli, cauliflower, etc., all the greens, kale. Shishi Radha Shamasunda ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Gaunitai ki jai. Okay. And so these are the vegetables. And then these are some of the options in terms of what you can do with that volume of vegetables. Because some families say that's too much for me. But there are always things that you can make health-boosting smoothies. You can cook in bulk and freeze for later. You can share with your communities and your neighbors. You can offer your share to the temple. That's a great benefit also. Can you skip? Move on. Okay, honey, can you skip on the screen? Thank you. So we are appealing to you to assist us to make this grand vision of Srila Prabhupada's a reality. And if you look at the next slide, that's where you can sign up. And there are also opportunities to sign up outside. And can you please skip the slide? Can I use that? Yeah. So today's sign up will come with a free bottle of honey. So you're welcome to take that. We have a little bit of time until you can sign up. Because it's $715, I think we have until the middle of January, I think, that we can sign up. However, for us to run the program, we would need to know today how many persons would like to participate. And in a community as large as yourselves, I think we would shoot for about 50 shares from this community to make it financially viable. Otherwise, it won't be feasible for us to drive all the way to drop off shares. So sometimes you may wonder, how can you produce these vegetables and have them at, $1.50 a pound? I used to think that too, because as a farmer now, I understand it costs way more to produce that 1 pound of tomato or whatever else you're producing. However, it's a volume-based program, so the volumes help make it viable financially and economically, and therefore the volumes are important. And so for each location, we are offering persons a minimum number of shares that that the community takes to be able to offer this service. So I'll end there, and I'll offer to Dhruva.
Any quick questions? One question? Hare Krishna.
The first share delivery is May 31st. However, we would like to plan the season, so we will start growing in the greenhouse with seeds from January in the propagation greenhouse, January and February onwards, to get the transplants out by March, April.
22 weeks.
Yes, please. So the orders get booked now. Madhupati Prabhu is asking, what is the timeline? So you place your order and you're booking for a full share now, and you have, I think, about a month and a half to make payment. If you cannot make payment today, the actual first delivery you will get will be on May 31st. To October 25th for 22 weeks. Yes, $715, yes. Thank you. Okay.
One more question, anybody? Quick? Yes.
Agai Krishna is reminding me that the best option is to take shares for the deities first. And so that offer is open to the communities, devotees who would vie to, buying the main shares for the deities. And that, I think, Krishnamananda Prabhu. Oh, he's signing up. Okay, but he can tell you how many shares they need too. Okay, but I want to thank everyone for your inspiring and enlivening association. It is very heartwarming to come to a community and to also have the support of a community like yourselves. I want to thank Madhupati Prabhu and his leadership team and all of you that makes such a space for persons to come to so that we can come to Krishna and also serve Prabhupada. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we'll be outside at a table there. If anybody has more questions and would like to sign up immediately, please come and see us there. Thank you very much.
Please be seated. We have quick announcements.
So let's thank Dhruva Prabhu and Parijat Mataji and Prabhuji. Forgot his name. Aghari Krishna Prabhu. And from the Gita Nagari team with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Because of their tireless efforts, we are getting this Gita Nagari milk every week. Because of the tireless efforts, now we are venturing into CSA, which they had already done a few years back, and it was on self. And now it's restarted. So let's thank them for all their tireless efforts with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Okay. Today's feast is not sponsored, so no feast. So if you like to have a feast, have a sponsor, contact Krishna Prabhu. And yes, no. We'll still have, Prabhuji is sponsoring the feast. So Sushil Prabhu and Mataji, so let's thank them with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Can you have the garland? Sushil Prabhu, why don't you come forward? We'll give the gift later on, but we'll get the garland. Yes. Haribol, Hare Krishna.